So, welcome everybody to the Seal Alliance SharePoint session for 2025. Super excited because we've got a range of fantastic speakers. I am just going to read my introduction again. I'm sorry to those of you who've just heard it, but tonight we've got an amazing series of seal conservation groups with fantastic, inspiring leaders who dedicate their volunteer lives to making the world a safer place for our native seal species in the UK. It's a complete honour for me to be sat here with them. And I chair the Seal Alliance, and Gareth Richards is the vice chair. But the research that these organisations do and the advocacy and their conservation actions are absolutely vital in isolation. But what's really special is when we work together in the Seal Alliance, because together our voice is louder, stronger, and more influential. So without further ado, this is the running order for tonight. We've got St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation Society, Yorkshire Seal Group, Friends of Horsey Seals, the Seal Project, us at the Seal Research Trust, Gower Seal Group, and British Divers Marine Life Rescue. So over to St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation Society to start us off. Over to you, Sal. Sal Bennett.
Hi. Yeah, thanks, Sue. Thank you. Okay, first up, no pressure. My name's Sal, and I am the founder of St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation Society, and we're based up north of the Tyne River. We came together in 2014, really just to see if it was possible to alleviate some of the chronic disturbance which rendered our haul out completely unusable for the grey seals attempting to make use of it. We're also, like all those speaking tonight, members of the UK Seal Alliance Executive. While our work is very local, being part of the Seal Alliance allows us to be part of something much bigger, helping to make space for seals everywhere. So next slide, Sue. We have one aim, which is to make our site a good place for all the wildlife that tries to use it. Our work focuses on raising awareness about the wildlife, supporting visitors to enjoy the site responsibly, and encouraging better management for wildlife. We do and have always done this using positive face-to-face engagement with visitors to our site. While working alongside with those in authority to recommend better practice and good management to ensure year-on-year improvements to mitigate the ever-increasing visitor pressure.
Sal, I'm
Next,
just going to
please.
stop you there because I don't know whether Deborah's aware, but I think, Deborah, you're drawing spots and lines all over our screen, and probably by moving your finger around your iPad, I'm sure you or your phone. I'm sure you're not doing it intentionally, but just to make you aware, if you could stop, that would be great. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to escape and restart the presentation because that might get rid of the red lines for everybody. So I apologise about that. Technical issues always. They appear to be on my screen, so I just need to stop sharing. There we go. Okay, we should be all right now if I share again. And please don't worry about it. These things happen with technology, do they not? Okay, there we go. Over back to you, Sal.
You need to go one slide back, Sue.
Thank you. Sorry, hun.
That's all right. Just otherwise it won't make sense what I'm saying, will it? Okay, so this haul out is on an intertidal rocky island, and it sits on a nature reserve, but the attraction of a lighthouse makes the site the most visited tourist destination in the area. There are over 100,000 visitors a year to an island measuring only 167 by 194 metres, so it really is just a rock. And the main car park is less than 300 metres with easy access to the haul out. So next slide, Sue. Right, that's the one. So unmanaged visitor pressure resulted in chronic disturbance on our site. And prior to our presence, this was normal interaction with seals. Next slide. As a result of our early research and our powers of persuasion, we were able to show our local authority, which was responsible for the nature reserve management, that the only viable way to manage such visitor pressure was to introduce a zoned area, an area where people were asked not to enter, encouraging visitors to use recommended viewing areas and follow wildlife-friendly practices. Next slide. Unfortunately, even zoned areas don't manage themselves. It would have been nice to think that at that point that job done, but that's not the case. As well as information and well-nuanced signs, our team of trained wildlife conservation volunteers are on site from early morning until dark, spending over 5,000 hours per year raising awareness and wardening the protected area. Next slide. With reduced disturbance, we've seen a year-on-year increase in seal numbers. This site is a non-breeding haul out of particular importance to juvenile seals in the area. During our 2004-2005 season, we had a record number of post-wean pups using the haul out, which was something we really weren't expecting, as seal pup numbers in the whole area were lower than for that season. But without a doubt, without protected places such as ours, where access is managed, it's unlikely that these seals would thrive. Next slide. In addition to our on-site engagement, this year we have trained 17 new wildlife conservation volunteers. That will bring our team up to nearly 50 to carry out the 5,000 hours. We've carried out outreach work with young people from school reception year to university students. We've given presentations and talks at clubs and groups to raise awareness of local wildlife and the work that we do. And we've hosted and attended several public meetings, public events. We also sit on our local nature partnership team and work to promote good practice to mitigate wildlife disturbance. And we were invited to input into our local nature recovery strategy, which has ensured that marine habitats are included within the strategy, with active visitor management to inform the public about recreational impacts on wildlife and implementing access management to sensitive areas listed as a priority measure. That's what's written in the strategy, which is why it suddenly sounded a bit odd. Next slide then, Sue.
I was just going to say, Sal, it's fantastic to see so many juveniles in one photo.
Yeah, it is. The big ones look huge when they turn up, the adults. Next slide, Sue. And finally, while our work is very local, we hope to change the perception and practices of those sharing the spaces they use with seals. And we also hope to inspire other communities to come together to protect their local wildlife in the way that we have. And above all, we hope that every year we will see more improvements for our local wildlife, making our site an even better space for nature. So that's me very quickly.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sal. So I'm hoping that everybody is going to put questions in the chat. I'm just going to stop sharing because I've realised that I need, for the videos that we've got coming up, I need to share my screen with sound as well. So I'm just about to do that. Got some lovely claps, Sal. And I'm hoping that people will put their comments in the chat and their questions in the chat, because Sally will be able to Sal will be able to respond to them in the chat, or we can ask them at the end, either way. So Matt Barnes and Niamh Byrne set up the Yorkshire Seal Group, and they weren't able to meet us tonight, so they've sent a video in and they explain why they can't make it tonight. Here we go. Gareth, if you could give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound, please.
Hi everyone, Niamh and Matt here from the Yorkshire Seal Group. Sorry we couldn't make it to the live session today. We're currently working in Borneo with orangutans.
Can you turn the volume up a little bit, Sue?
Small but mighty team.
Yes, we can. I'll stop sharing again and just turn my volume up. Actually, I might not. There we go. Okay, try again. Hopefully it won't be too loud. Just a warning for everybody. Try again, Gareth. Do interrupt if it's still not loud enough.
Hi everyone, Niamh and Matt here from
It's a lot better.
group. Sorry we couldn't make it to the live session today. We're currently working in Borneo with orangutans, but we thought we'd present what our small but mighty team have been doing on the ground in the Yorkshire Seal group. Myself and Matt started the group 6 years ago when we lived in Yorkshire, and we wanted to reduce the number of welfare call-outs around the Yorkshire coast and to protect seals in situ. And Matt will describe roughly what we do.
Hi guys, so yeah, there's three main outputs to what we do. First and foremost, we protect seals. So we're very much an interventionist group. We try to put ourselves between seals and the source of disturbance, which is normally anthropogenic or human-based, be that walkers, vessels, etc., and things like that. As well as protecting the seals, that gives us the opportunity to engage with people that are on the foreshore and work on education, so increasing their ocean literacy, telling them about the seals, the behaviours, the biology, the things they need to survive, and obviously reduce the threats to their welfare. We've really moved a lot more on data collection recently as well. So we do a lot of data over the last 5 years, and that includes pupping data, mortality data, and environmental data as well to help with landowners making decisions on how to manage sites. One of our big milestones this year was we reached charity status in England. We've been working on this for quite a while, so thanks to Alex, one of our chairs, for helping work on that behind the scenes. Here you can see Audrey. Audrey and Claire are our charity leads, and they very much run the charity on the ground day to day, and they are an amazing driving force for us. Becoming a charity is a great opportunity for us because it allows us to add a bit more legitimacy to our work. We're the only registered seal charity within the Yorkshire coast, and also it means we can expand our fundraising activities and apply for certain grants. We applied for our first grant with Sea Savers, which we were very successful to get, which we're very happy about, and that's helped us purchase more banners and campaign materials to help with our education and outreach.
So regards to the deceased seal database, in the 2024 season, we recorded 110 dead seals. September recorded a massive spike of 30 individuals. We collaborated with CSIP, sharing data. And that all concluded that there was healthy adult seals that were suffering from a respiratory disease. Luckily, it has stabilised now in 2025, and we haven't seen that spike since. But since the 6 years of recording deceased seals in Yorkshire, year on year, there are more deceased seals being recorded than pups born every year.
So there's a number of different ways we can monitor seals in the wild. For those that contribute to rehabilitation of seals, it's really, really important to know that their efforts are successful and the efficacy of what they do is paramount. So normally they'll tag seals. Tag seals normally is a plastic tag on the rear flipper. We can record these quite easily if we've got good optics like scopes and binoculars, and we've recorded 29 tag seals in 2024. In total, we've had 60 individuals moving up and down the Yorkshire coast, and what it showed us quite a lot is the spatial movements of seals vary quite a lot. So they come from the Northumberland coast to our north, and also from the Wash and Norfolk to our south, and they transit through the Yorkshire coast. Only a few actually hang around the area. Most importantly, we spotted George Biggs. He's one of our most resighted seals, who's been spotted 7 times. He was rehabbed by the fantastic RSPCA team at East Winch, and he had a famous story because he was found on the road, I think about half a mile inland from the sea. But he's made a stunning recovery and now finds his home on the Yorkshire coast. We've had them from multiple areas and rehabs, including Germany, the Netherlands, Scotland, and England so far. Entangled seals is another issue we try to deal with. Obviously myself, I worked for the Marine Conservation Society for 9 years, and I've done hundreds of beach cleans trying to educate people and get more legislation passed on single-use plastics. We have a comprehensive database on entangled seals. We've seen a 46% increase from 2023 to 2024, and that denotes that plastic is very pervasive and it exists in our ecosystems for years and years and years and causes the problems through ingestion and entanglement. We've freed 22 seals with our pals at the BNMLR. We have 33 pending on the Yorkshire coast, so there's still plenty of work to be done, but the topography of the Yorkshire coast makes interventions very, very difficult, and we have to make sure it's safe for both the rescuer and the animal to do so.
Just a summary of the disturbance events we record at one of our most impacted sites along the Yorkshire coast. It is significantly higher than any of our other sites, so it's 180% higher than our second site that we monitor. And the numbers have slightly reduced thanks to all of our volunteer presence, but it's still significantly far too high, and we're seeing that's impacting the number of seals that actually use that haul-out site. And unfortunately, that is a key pupping site for the Yorkshire coast. So if we do lose that site, we're losing a significant safety area for our seals. And during our data collection, we've recorded 88% of those causes are from anthropogenic causes. And from this next slide, you can see some of those reasons. So you have people walking within the colony, which causes severe stampedes, and the tired and injured seals are remaining, where visitors get far too close and their proximity is within 2 meters of the seals, as you can see in some of the photos. During the summer season, water users are becoming an increased risk along the Yorkshire coast. We have paddleboarders, we have jet skis, we have kayakers going through the seal colony and flushing the whole colony off the land and into the water. And then we also have loose dogs off the lead, which are causing severe injuries of our seals, and photographers getting too close, especially during the pupping season. Our volunteers really struggle when we're monitoring the site because we work in a preventative approach. We try and engage all of the members of the public to do what's best for the seals, but unfortunately, due to the pats down and the right of way, people can access the beach in many different ways, and a few of them do slip through the net without us seeing them.
Most of you guys know that obviously the UK is home to 2 species of seal. We have the 2 native species, should I say, the grey seal and the common seal, or harbour seal as it's sometimes known. Grey seals are definitely the dominant species that we see here on the Yorkshire coast, but we do have a limited number of common seals as well. They represent under 1% of the actual total number of seals in Yorkshire at any one time, but we do have them at 2 of our locations. We've started to run a common seal ID catalogue, much as similar we should do with the grey seals, with the mums and the pups and things, but it's a lot harder with the mottled coat of the common seal, as they're very, very cryptic to try and identify. We have, however, identified a number of them now. Byrne, as you can see pictured here, has been sighted 23 times, and that is our most sighted common seal, but they're a bit more predictable in their behaviours than the transient greys.
Just a massive shout out for Kit for undertaking huge work in our mother ID. We collect photos of all of the mothers that give birth along the Yorkshire coast, and Kit goes through all of the photos and tries to re-identify them. Since she's got on board, we have re-identified 13 mothers that have been resighted more than once. And in the 2024 pupping season, we re-identified 8 mothers that were known to us prior. For example, Pigeon here, we had a photo of her left-hand side in 2020, and then she came back in 2021, and we managed to get her left and right-hand side. And because we had a completed picture of her in 2024, once our photographers took a photo of her right-hand side, we could re-identify her as Pigeon. She gives birth at the same location every single year, but across different parts of that site. And she has given birth successfully to 3 pups since the 2020 season all the way through to 2024. So we're hoping to see her again in 2025.
So staying on the subject of pupping, it's important to talk about the high mortality rate at the pre-weaning stage. So one of the reasons me and Niamh founded the Yorkshire Seal Group was because of the really high mortality rate on the Yorkshire coast. So the pups will normally wean in Yorkshire between about 17 and 21 days old, but during that time they were getting progressively more disturbed. And it was that cumulative disturbance, the mother leaving the pup to evade a perceived threat and then returning again, leaving again, returning again. There was a real calorie deficit happening there, and obviously that wasn't transferring the body weight needed via the milk to the pup on the shore. So we've seen on average around about a 50% mortality rate during the first 21 days of a pup's life on the Yorkshire coast, which does sit significantly above the national average, and that's something we're continuing to try and address through active stewardship on the grounds.
So YSG volunteers don't just work alongside seals at the seal haulouts. We also undertake a lot of outreach and fundraising events. Our volunteers go to schools and scouts and adult groups to raise awareness, trying to change the status quo on what people think of seals and how to behave around seals. We also undertake a number of press releases when anything dramatic happens in terms of disturbance events. And a big shout out to Claire, our fundraising lead, and all of our fundraising volunteers who go all around the Yorkshire coast, raising awareness both through education and also through events. Caring for Critters continue to be one of our biggest supporters, and they have 2 charity shops, one in Hunter's Row and one in Aberdeen Walk in Scarborough, and they provide us well-needed funding to continue our work at the Yorkshire Seal Group.
Increasing ocean literacy and sort of improving the next generation is really, really key for us. Bringing up the youth to make sure they're more in touch with their environment and not disconnected from nature. It was really, really great to have a reach out from Freddie, Esme, Jake, Owen, Jemima and Maxwell, and they created Sealy Comics, which is one of our biggest fundraisers of the last year. And that publication that they made talking about seals and the threats they face on the Yorkshire coast, they went out and physically sold at a number of different events, and that brought in much needed funds for us. So we're very, very happy and proud of our junior ambassadors here at Yorkshire Seal Group.
Our Flying Ring volunteers have been spreading the message about the Flying Ring campaign, going to local shops all around the Yorkshire coast, trying to prevent the sale of flying rings and promote alternatives. And we have a massive support with the councillor in East Riding of Yorkshire raising awareness about this campaign.
You may have seen on social media or on a number of different platforms the beach art of renowned artist Fred Brown. He's been really vital in spreading campaigns for a number of environmental charities around the UK, of which Yorkshire Seal Group, he is an avid fan and supporter, which has been great. These allow him a natural canvas of hundreds of metres, so when our volunteers go out and support the designs, he can literally bring it to life and he can spread large messages that obviously only exist for one tidal cycle, but when you use things like drones, they obviously get picked up by local media and the message carries far and wide. We've done messages on volunteering, messages on giving seals space, and messages on flying rings.
So what's next for the Yorkshire Seal Group? We of course want to expand our volunteer numbers, because there's a lot of hard work along the Yorkshire coast with the rough topography and rough terrain. We're also wanting to have a path closure for the pupping site. It is very difficult because of the right of way that goes through the seal colony, but we continue to work with stakeholders to see what we can do. And we also would like to work with, and still do, work with BDM Law to free known entangled seals within our catalogue. But obviously because of the rough terrain and the safety, it is quite difficult on the Yorkshire coast.
Finally, we want to finish with a massive thank you to all our supporters, Claire, Audrey, who are pivotal in keeping YSG going on the ground, Kit with research, Alex with background work and charity work, Finn, who does our Dead Seal database as well, and all our thousands of supporters that are out there. It's not possible without our stewarding team, so we have around 30 stewards. We're always after more. These stewards are literally the lifeblood of our work, without which nothing would happen.
Well, I hope you agree that was a bit of a fantastic presentation and really inspiring and fantastic that they've achieved so much in such a short period of time. So well done, Yorkshire Seal Group. Okay, over to you, Sally, Friends of Horsey Seals, Sally Butler.
Hi, my name's Sally and I'm currently the chair of Friends of Horsey Seals. So we have around 350 wardens. We recruit every year for wardens, and 42 duty wardens that cover around about 8 miles of beach. We use around about 65 shifts a day, so that's an awful lot of shifts to cover with just 350 people. So we're always looking for more recruits. And amongst those, we also have different teams of volunteers. So we have our Flying Rings team that this year have covered 60 miles of Norfolk Beach. And they've been going onto the beaches, explaining to people the dangers of flying rings and offering them a solid flying ring to exchange. We also have our count team, which go out every Thursday and count the 8 mile stretch of beach. And I can say that today we've counted 1,080 pups, which is 602 more pups than we had this time last year. But I'm quite certain it's because the pups have been born sooner. We also have a small research team that will get involved in anything that we're asked for, from places like SMRU and the Natural History Museum and other universities. We also have a small rescue team. If you can go to the next slide, please, Sue. So we have a small rescue team they're all volunteers that get trained by our SPCA East Winch. and we carry out around about 500 rescues a year. A lot of these rescues are actually entanglements, and we've been out to 33 adult entanglements this year. And out of those 33, we've actually caught 12 of them. So there's still an awful lot out there that we need to catch. We will do round about 500 rescues every year. And of course, this time of year is our busiest time of year. You go to the next slide, please, Sue. So we have a couple of areas that, at Horsey that we rope off every year just before the October half term. And this gives visitors a place where they can view the seals safely. So we have the pillbox here. And if you go to the next slide, please. Along the posts, we have these little flip-up educational posts on there that people can, we ask questions and they can just flip it up and get the answer. Next slide, please. Along this 8-mile stretch of coast, there's quite a few gaps that go onto entrances that go onto the beach. Now, some of these we can completely close off, but there are others that unfortunately we're unable to. And this allows the public access to the beach. Next slide, please. We also have what we call a viewing platform with 2 sets of steps. So this is one set of steps, and along the top there's a 500 metre stretch of dunes where the people can view the seals safely. Now, unfortunately, these steps are 20 years old. They were built by the Environment Agency and they've come to the end of their life. So Friends of Horsey Seals are going to try and rebuild and take over these steps. Obviously, that's going to be a huge cost to us. Next slide, please. This is our biggest problem. And as you can see here, this is through the summer months where seals are hauling out to rest. And unfortunately, we are unable to warden. We rely on landowners to be able to have access to the beach and use the car parks. And we're not permitted at the moment to go on the beach and warden during the summer months. What we have done is we've extended how far you should stay away from seals, and we've gone along with the majority of the country to 100 metres, and this has been really well accepted. So next slide, please. So here again you can see the haul out with people stood right next to the seals. Next slide, please. Again, somebody thinking it's okay just to lay next to a seal and try and stroke it. Shame it didn't bite his hand off. Next slide, please. Selfie takers. We get an awful lot of these. And we do, where these 2 people are here, this is access from a holiday park. And the access goes straight through to the pupping colony, the breeding season. And unfortunately, they've just applied for planning permission to extend their opening hours to January. Now, we have put an objection in for this, but it is wide open to the pupping colony. Next slide, please. Photographers, another big issue that we have. And of course, this gentleman really needs to go and lay right next to a seal to take his photographs. Our aims are just to try and protect these seals and stop these kind of things from happening. And I'd really like to thank all our volunteers that get involved and try and conserve the seals. And that is it from me, Sue.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sally. Infrastructure, provision of infrastructure, crikey. That's a new one for us.
That's going to be a big one.
It is going to be a big one, but congratulations for thinking about taking that on. Very proud of you for that, and what an amazing achievement. Okay, I'm going to go on to Sarah Greenslade. This is also a pre-recorded one. Sarah is from the Seal Project in South Devon.
I'm Sarah from the Seal Project based in South Devon. Apologies, I've had to pre-record this, so if you have any questions, please feel free to get hold of me on the contact details on the screen. Otherwise, I'm sure Sue or the other presenters will be able to help you. So I'm going to give you a bit of a whistle stop of our year, and our main survey location is a marina, so the seals haul out on man-made structures, which isn't ideal, but the seals keep coming back year after year to use this as a winter molting location. So you know, it's an area that they're not accessible easily. They've got CCTV security. I mean, what's not to love? They are in the middle of a high traffic location. As you can see, they're sleeping and snoring on this concrete platform at the end, nearest the trawlers and the boat traffic. They seem to adapt to it, unfortunately. Anyway, so this is how we see them. During the summer months, we occasionally see just a few seals, and they often use the corner girders to sleep on. It's easier for the smaller seals to climb onto. And as you can see in this picture, the one that looks like they're floating on water, they are obviously slightly overweight on the girders. And the ones choosing the boat dock to sleep on, well, if it's not being used, and it's way more comfy than coastal docks. I mean, what's not to love? And this particular male seal chose these jet ski pods to sleep on during the well, mostly over half term, to be honest. But again, inaccessible. He gained a lot of interest from passers-by. But yeah, I mean, nice comfy bed and in the sunshine. The problem we have is obviously seals are adapting to the surroundings, so therefore they're not fazed by picking high traffic locations in which to sleep and snooze. So this particular seal in the bottom corner chose the inner harbour in which to have a sleep, and people thought he was dying or dead or very ill, and all he was doing was having a sleep. We don't get a huge amount of pups around our coastline. There's not many locations in which they can remain undisturbed, unfortunately. But we did watch these two from birth to when they went off to live their own little wild lives, which hopefully they'll do very successfully. And the picture of the mum I couldn't resist because she's got a grassy ass. She's a lovely mum. She's done really well the last couple of years, but she does like to remain in the water. So unless pup needs feeding, she would generally remain in the shallows. So therefore she's gone a little bit mouldy. Entanglement is obviously an issue that affects us all in so many different ways, but this particular seal has been known to us since the spring of 2022. She's been seen again recently. We do our best to monitor her sightings. We're very lucky. The local harbour authorities will contact us, and various boat operators will give us a shout if they see her. And alongside us, BDLMR, we are keeping an eye on her, the state of her as such, because she picks man-made structures to haul out on. It makes access to her very difficult, because what seal's going to hang around and wait for somebody to get really close to them? None. This particular young seal was fine on Christmas Day, and then on Boxing Day when we went to survey, because that's how we roll, he'd got this red festive collar. It wasn't a festive collar, but that's what people seem to think, which was quite distressing. It's actually off a tin of marine anti-fouling paint, and so we monitored him for a few days, and then he disappeared. Whether he comes back this year and he's still got it on, we don't know. But yeah, this wasn't what we wanted to see. And then this little young man here, he's rocked up in the last few months with gill net around his neck. When he arrived, it didn't appear to be cutting in, but over the last few months it has started to cut in again. He's on corner girders, he's on parts of the wave screen. You can see him easily, but we can't get to him. He's not going to hang around to be pounced on by people on boats. But we are keeping an eye on him, and BDMR are aware of him too. But again, seals do get lucky. I mean, Commuter in the top picture, he was rescued after several years of being entangled. We know they can't all be that lucky, but you never know. So when we do our different talks and presentations, we always bring in the flying rings entanglement, the plastics, the angling line, the fishing line, the bandings off paper boxes, fish boxes. We've had seals caught up in umbrellas, but, things get entangled around seals that we just don't consider. So we are part of the Seal Alliance and part of the Save Our Seals from Flying Rings campaign. We haven't had, fingers crossed, we've not encountered this sort of entanglement yet, but making people aware. They just don't appreciate that these things can be so dangerous. Angling issues are more our thing. Unfortunately, this particular young male seal, we watched him follow a line in, catch the fish, but he caught more than he bargained for, and he caught a lot of hooks, and it was very distressing to watch. Again, we try and talk to anglers, but it's not always that easy. It's their fish. And this particular person, I blanked out here, we observed her getting changed to go and swim with the seal. We managed to talk her out of that idea, but why? And then we watched this seal sliding off the rocks, but she did get entangled in some discarded angling line at the same time, which was frustrating. And one of our best known seals, Flower, she's travelled the Devon and Cornish coasts, and she gets about a bit. But as you can see, she's got some nasty missing digits on her front right flipper there, which is clearly causing her some pain, because as you can see from the oversized claws on the other digits, she's not using that properly, because otherwise it would wear the nails down. So she's clearly in some pain with that, so that's not great. And I had this mad idea about having a remote camera, and between the forward point and, unfortunately, blocking the logo for the Devon Environment Foundation, we were granted funding for what is a fully solar powered camera, so we can monitor the seals that we see on these offshore rocks, which is a lot easier than trying to get out there by boat, because every time you've got a free day, you can guarantee the weather's not good. Like this, but we can see this now, so we can tell whether there's seals there on a bad day or not, which is amazing. So we can keep a count, and we can keep an eye on disturbance. So we've done a number of talks. I think we've done over 30 different events this year, which we all do as volunteers. I don't get to use my annual leave very much, but this is what we love doing, getting involved and talking to people about seals. I mean, what's not to love? The residents of some local apartments, the Prince William Quay, decided they were doing up their gardens, and they wanted to create something to show off, to showcase the marine litter that affects the seals. So we collected the litter, they created the sculpture and the signage, and paid for the signs, but we helped them work on. So this is amazing, because this is in a high traffic location right opposite the marina, right opposite the fishing quay, so people can see the different things we have to deal with. And by chance, we encountered the CGen guys putting this CGen buoy in the marina to test it out and see what it could record. They weren't aware of the seals at the time, they are now. And as you can see, this particular seal was checking this out. We were actually surveying, so I was able to call them up and go, have you seen the footage from underneath? And they had captured this seal as well, which was amazing. So we're just waiting for them to redeploy it back in the marina, so we can see what we can capture this winter. And I'm not very good at birds. My head is slightly blocking the fact that there is a seal in that image as well. And this little shag came out of the water, and I thought, oh, it's got a bit of crisp packet or something around its flipper. But this is actually a seal, a shag that was rescued and released from the Isles of Scilly in June. So this is its first sighting in the wild. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm just going to show you this. Hopefully it will play. This was a BDMR call out to monitor a seal in the harbour, in the marina area of Brixham, and we encountered the seal checking out. The seals always like to let you know they're there when we're monitoring dolphins, but this was slightly more of an encounter that the dolphin had than us. Apologies, it's not very easy to keep a big camera still when you're videoing. Very curious little seal. So yeah, I think that's basically Hi, I'm Sarah from the Seal Project based in us.
Get there in the end.
Us. There's my details. Give me a shout. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for listening.
Lovely stuff. So that's really fantastic from Sarah in the Seal Project in South Devon. And we're going to whiz on round to Cornwall now, and I'll present about the Seal Research Trust. We thank our funders always, because without them we wouldn't be able to pay the 2 people that we pay in our organisation. We've managed to engage 21,000 people with 772 events in 2024 so far. and we've represented seals with statutory agencies. The JNCC ran a Marine Mammal Forum workshop, which they are looking to set up, which is really exciting. So seals were on the agenda. We're on the Clean Catch UK National Advisory Board that looks at bycatch and entanglement. We represented seals for the Natural England's Threatened Species Recovery Action Plan, and I'm delighted to say that we did get harbour seals included. Grey seals aren't declining in numbers enough to be included in the plan. We've recently written a letter to DEFRA ministers on the left-hand side about getting seals added to the Wildlife and Countryside Act to see if they are going to enact the JNCC recommendation. It was signed by lots of other big organisations, which is great. And the answer that we got is that the JNCC recommendations will be published by the end of the year, along with the government's response. So we have absolutely everything crossed that seals will be added to the Wildlife and Countryside Act, which would make disturbance illegal, as it is with whales and dolphins. We also worked with Natural England on drone surveys, and if you're interested, we do have a best practice document that they now share with people about using drones around seals. Our advice is a minimum flight height of 110 metres for the shortest flight path and time, and to just not do it on quiet days. Natural England and the Marine Management Organisation are working together on some disturbance that we reported on the Farne Islands when there was also some orca disturbance. So we've got a seal being disturbed. The guillemot was disturbed and smashed its egg on the ledge below, and you can see how close the boats are. So we know that this best practice information, which is DEFRA's Marine and Coastal Wildlife Code, has been shared with the operators in the farms, which is fantastic. The MMO are working on a seaside project that will get disturbance recorded nationally, so we'll all be able to contribute to that. And we've also worked or have written to the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency about several health and safety issues that we were concerned about, to see if they would be concerned about them as well or not, and maybe we shouldn't be worrying. And the MOD have approved air avoidance areas over all of our sensitive seal sites, which is fantastic. We attended lots of conferences during 2025, which is really fantastic, including the Police Wildlife Crime one. We've had lots of ambassadorial visits on site. So we engaged the Cornwall Marine and Coastal Partnership on, as you can see, quite a few different stakeholders coming to visit the seals, along with 2 MPs and 3 councillors, including the council lead and the environment portfolio holder. Our key asks for the MPs were that seals get added to the Wildlife and Countryside Act, and our key ask for councillors was that vessels from Cornwall Council harbours are required to follow best practice to support our new marine nature recovery framework. So that, watch this space. We've had lots of events face-to-face and online, and I would like to thank all of the volunteers who've participated in these. We've actually managed 121 talks in 2025 with 7 different speakers, not only about seals, but also about citizen science networks and how to manage and maintain them, as well as the issue which several speakers have already spoken about in terms of entanglement. We presented at the Global Ghost Gear Initiative in October about this issue. And basically, our headline data is that 2 to 4% of all of our seals are entangled. 23 different entangled seals have been recorded in a single survey, up to 134 different seals in a single year. 7 years, sometimes some of our seals suffer for before they're able to be rescued or before they die. And that entanglement, sometimes when it's chronic, can stunt their growth and reduce their survivalship through hepatic amyloidosis. But if they're rescued, they do normal things and they tend to survive and do things like have pups. We've been supporting the Flying Rings campaign. We're hugely grateful to the Seal Alliance team who have led on this. Loads of signatures, which Gareth will talk about later, for the petition. Cornwall Council, Joyce, one of our volunteers, contacted them to ask them to have a voluntary ban on the use and sale of flying rings, and it was unanimously passed, which never happens. And there are some new resources available to people for coastal waymark path signposts or for car parks. If you're interested, you can just get in touch. And I'm very proud to say that we've now got a new campaign book as well. It's a beautiful book, beautifully illustrated. You can order it from us. Just have a look at the Seal Research Trust shop, or a lot of the Seal Alliance groups will also be selling it. So sometimes SRT volunteers are out doing surveys and they spot seals in trouble. There were 3 attempts to rescue Nanette, who is an adult female from monofilament gear. I'm delighted to say you can see massive team effort, and I know some of the people who participate in this rescue on the call tonight, which is great. But you can see the small amount of net on the left side that was taken off this seal and how much damage it had done. I'm delighted to say she was seen 11 days later, 17 days later, and 8 months later, so she seems to be thriving. We've been working with the Lumarine Conservation Group to get awareness raising buoys 100 metres away from a sensitive seal site, and we're looking to spread that work to other sites around Cornwall and hopefully beyond. We funded signs in harbours where feeding is an issue to ask people to not feed seals because it changes their behaviour for life. Most of them are carrot signs, but there are some stick signs as well. And we've also funded crabbing code signs. So if you're interested in those crabbing code signs in your local harbours, just get in touch. You can get your logos put on them. Our Pentire team have been routinely working with and following up disturbance incidents with boat operators, and I'm delighted to say that the boat operators are now 100 metres away from the offshore haulouts, which is fantastic. We've been working with other partners, so this was Seal Alliance work, not Seal Research Trust work, but I think it's important enough to mention, with the British and Irish Zoos Association and Aquariums, BIAZA, to come up with a national seal release protocol. So if you have a local rehab centre, then just make them aware of this national seal release protocol. We've worked with seakeepers, who are an association of sailors, to enable them to submit data and to support our data collection. We're on the Atlas of Citizen Science, and we've also had one of our volunteers engaging big time with ocean literacy, which is something that Matt mentioned earlier. And we're working with Oxford University to produce some bespoke photo ID software. It's already identifying seals, but we know that with extra training it will get better. And we've recently had a £50,000 bid accepted by Innovate UK because we're working with Celtic Sea Power, who are doing research pre the offshore development of Celtic Sea waters. And they're developing machine learning techniques to automatically detect seal vocalizations, categorize them, and associate them with different behaviors and call types. They've already used this, and we've been able to identify seals. So it's audio-visual kit for seals underwater. And this was one of the seals that came and visited the camera. And incredibly, we have been able to identify this particular seal, which was fantastic. So if you're interested in helping with this project, they're looking for volunteers. You can do it remotely. You just need to go onto the Let's Talk Cornwall website. I will put the link in the chat hopefully later if somebody reminds me. But basically, you can listen to 2 hours of seal underwater vocalizations and just draw boxes around them for an expert to then go back to look at. Listening to seal vocalizations is epic. So if you're interested in that, just get in touch. And one of our volunteers is pioneering some rangefinder research to show how far vessels are away from boats. More on that next year. And we've partnered with the National Trust, so we're behind some of the other groups in terms of volunteer wardens or ambassadors on the sites. But we've managed to get the National Trust to agree to us training volunteers and starting wildlife engagement volunteers. We've also had this carbon dioxide removal programme on our patch, and I'm delighted to say that in 2025, after 2 years of really hard work, it's finally been scrapped. But the work goes on because we had a government-funded workshop in St Ives to learn the lessons about how to involve communities and to better govern these projects. We participated in New York Climate Week, and if you're interested in seeing the documentary that's been made about it, you can just look up the Keep Our Sea Chemical Free YouTube channel. We do surveys, we've got dive surveys. Look how amazing St Ives Bay is underwater. It's epic, and it was all at risk with that project. We do land-based team surveys or individual surveys. This is on New Island, and we do 3 boat surveys that cover 115 kilometres of the North Cornish coast. Well done to all the volunteers taking part. Just like in Yorkshire, we've got more seals dying in Cornwall than being born in the last 8 years, which is very worrying, and the age group that are dying are malted pups. So we're doing a lot of work with Cornwall Wildlife Trust Marine Strandings Network to look into that. This is Scream. This is her 2025 pup. She's had 8 pups in 9 years, and on average, she is pupping 3.5 days earlier every year. This is Thistle's only 2nd ever feed, so it was pretty special. Unfortunately, the first pups of the season were all unsuccessful and didn't make it. And you can see we had a very premature one in the top right-hand corner. This is devastating when you simply can't get to them and rescue them. One of our volunteers, Jeff, recorded this seal pup birth, which taught us some new stuff about the anatomical structure of all the parts to do with reproduction. We've potentially had twins, which is super exciting on our coast. And what's remarkable is that the twins seem to have been successfully weaned, which is unheard of in most places. I know you had some in Norfolk, and I know there were some at the Seal Sanctuary, but these ones look to be successfully weaned, which is a bit of a shock. And then we've also had one mum called Butterfly who has fed 3 different pups and successfully weaned her own. She had enough milk to feed 3 different pups, which is utterly incredible. And then gobsmacking research from one of our volunteers. This male and female were recorded mating for 72 minutes. Respect. If you want to find out more about this sort of stuff, on our YouTube channel, there is this Grey Seal Pup Development and Behaviours webinar that we did last month. Obviously, there's issues, as there are in other areas. I'm going to show a really gross photo now, so if you don't like gross photos, please look away. But this is what this seal looked like after 6 years of entanglement in a single strand of monofilament. And all of a sudden, she either had an abscess burst or she ripped it off, but she had that appalling wound on the bottom right photo. But what has gobsmacked me is how quickly she's recovered. Because, I mean, obviously she's still got a hideous injury there and she's still entangled, but look how the wound has healed up in October and in November. I'm absolutely gobsmacked at how hardy these animals are. Please look out for these. These are not flying rings. They're much larger and they look to be industrial rings. So this is like Sarah's paint tin seal. This is a potentially industrial ring of some sort. And we had 2 different seals entangled, presumably in different rings, in March and April this year at 2 different sites. Also look out for pox, please, and record it if you can. These are very large pox lesions, so we're not 100% sure that that's what they are, but nevertheless, very sore armpits for this seal. And I know that this seal is a seal looking at the camera, which I should not be sharing publicly, but it is the only way that I could show you the hideous tumour that this seal has attached to its mouth. If you see any of these oral tumours or tumours like this anywhere on a seal, please get in touch. And finally, harmful algal blooms is something that we had off our North Cornish coast this year. If you keep an eye on these, they can increase aggressive behaviour in seals. Just to finish, my first 2 seal friends are still alive. I met them in 2000. This is Chairlist in September. I love him to bits. This is Shadow Puppet in February 2025, and this is them lying next to each other. And what's important is we know that he's approximately 28 years old and she is 30 years old. We'll be doing this for a long time. Every seal is unique. 4 seals on one survey. You create their calendars, they're totally different. You look at their maps, totally different, just like us. They've all got different Google Maps. Just look at more seals, their maps are all completely different. Their visit patterns are all completely different. They're unique, just like us. That's why they're really important, sentient beings. We are a self-funding charity, so donations, adoptions, fundraising we have an online shop. Please think about Christmas gifts, and obviously legacies are key. We've got this other book, Excuse Me, Are You My Mum, which is 9 lives of a seal pup who comes out with a happy ending. And we've got lots of great stuff on our shop, including these utterly incredible there's only 8 of these incredible pup sculptures. Right, that's me finished, and over to Gareth Richards. And I'm going to stop talking and stop sharing because Gareth is going to share for us. Thank you very much. Over to you, Gareth. That's great, we can see that.
Consider that okay, Sue? Yeah, I just got to say, first of all, it's fantastic to see so many new names and new faces on tonight's meeting. And we've run these for the last sort of couple of years, and I'm always in awe listening to what other groups are actually sort of doing. Now, as you can probably tell from my accent, I am not in some exotic place like Borneo, like Matt and Niamh. But this is where I'm situated in South Wales, in the Gower Peninsula. It was the first area of outstanding natural beauty back in 1956. I think it's now known as National Landscapes. I think they changed the name of it now. But we're a small group of local volunteers, and I would probably say that 2025 for us has been our busiest year since I formed Gower Seal Group 5 years ago, and I formed it in direct consequence of when I was seal surveying for the National Trust. I could see so much seal disturbance going on. 99.9% of it was unintentional. And there was a market, there was an evidence and need really out there for education and sort of information as well. And what underpins our sort of work is really sort of getting the message across there about to give seals space and watching seals well and enjoy, respect and protect, and just basically talking to people. And I actually gave my last talk last week, and I was so disappointed, so disappointed. I've only done 51 talks this year. I was hoping to exceed 2023, where I did 52, so I was too short. But hey, 2026 is coming up, so you never know in that one there. As many of you have mentioned, this has been dominating our work here. It's our Flying Rings campaign, and I'm really sort of privileged to be part of this sort of strategy team with Jenny Hobson, who's on this call here tonight, and listening to the different groups, the amount of work that's being done, especially by Friends of Horsey Seals, and we've listened from Sally earlier on. Huge amount of work, but a huge amount of work across the UK, and certainly down here as well. We are a group that likes to roll our sleeves up and get our hands dirty and get amongst people as well. And we have visited many shops in sort of Swansea and Gower, and in fact throughout South Wales as well, really sort of getting that message across and trying to get people to stop selling these horrendous flying rings and to go for the solid disc frisbee instead. And we've had a huge amount of success on that side. And these photographs are just a few of the ones over the last sort of probably 2 years or so. I even got my next door neighbour, who's a criminal barrister, to pose with a flying ring as well. So fair play to Emily. But yeah, it's about getting the message across, because like I said, people don't go out there with the intention of harming wildlife, in particularly sort of seals as well. And the feedback we've actually had has been absolutely fantastic, which really sort of put me on to last year. We were very lucky to approach Swansea Council, and they entered into a voluntary ban, like Sue was saying now about Cornwall Council. And every council that we've been involved in across the UK, certainly here in Wales, party political wise, in these council meetings, they never unanimously agree about anything, which I understand that, apart from one thing: banning flying rings. So that says a lot to me. And we've got a public petition running at the moment. It's up until a couple of minutes ago, I think it's right, there's 45,456 signatures, which is phenomenal, because I mean we only launched this back toward the end of May, beginning of June of this year, and it did sort of spring up very quickly. I'll be putting a link into the petition, and I would just ask all of us on this meeting tonight, please sign the petition and share as much as you can. Our first aim is to get 50,000. There's something in my mind about 50,000. I just want to get 50,000. It turns heads far more than 45,000. But we have done sort of phenomenal. I want to say we've done, I mean, all of you sort of collectively. So, please sign the petition and share as much as you can to that end. One of the other things that we're very proud of really down here since we first sort of started is Operation Seabird. Operation Seabird is the national campaign to reduce marine wildlife disturbance, and that's with all species. And we've got an extremely good working relationship with the local police down here. So much so, we've now got regularly the RNLI, Mid and West Wales Fire Service, the National Coast Watch, certainly British Divers Marine Life Rescue, all part and parcel of this fantastic network there. And it really is a pleasure to work alongside them. But one of the other things that we really sort of pride ourselves in is going into schools and colleges, because these really are our future ambassadors there. And this group of young girls that came down to see us down in Mumbles back in the summer, what they've actually done is that they got rid of their own sort of flying rings and gone across to the solid disc frisbee as well. And they were so pleased to come down and tell us that is exactly what they've done. And say, even though I only did 51 talks this year, I look at what is the future, and who knows what's going to happen in 2026. But listening to all the different groups here this evening, it's going to be a really, really good year for seals. And Sue was mentioned already that we are hoping, I pray actually that the 7th quinquennial review will amend the Wildlife and Countryside Act and actually put seal disturbance on the statute outside. There's one thing I can actually sort of guarantee from us at Gower, and I'm sure you will all say the same, is that we will give these incredible animals a voice. We will continue to actually do that as well, because since I started being interested in seals, 9 years ago, I learn so much literally daily sometimes, and I am in awe of these particular creatures. And we've seen sometimes as well the challenges that they're sort of facing, and they are increasing challenges as well. They're not decreasing, they're increasing as well. We've spoken about the flying rings, but now we're getting industrial rings on top of that as well. So there's all these challenges. So everything that you can do out there, even just sitting down and listening to us as well, we hope that we are inspiring you to get out there and do something. But the last thing I could say is, please sign our petition and share it far and wide. Thanks very much. Thanks you.
Lovely, Gareth. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen for the final presentation. Lots of thumbs up again, Gareth. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for responding. That's really wonderful. Okay, I'm hoping that you can see that, Gareth. Lovely. Okay, so last but definitely not least, Dan Jarvis, Welfare and Conservation Director from British Divers Marine Life Rescue. Dan, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all joining us this evening, and an absolute pleasure to hear all of the talks this evening. There's so much fantastic work going on with all of the other organisations that are here tonight as well, so it's brilliant to hear from them and what they're doing as well. As Sue says, last but hopefully not least, I'll be telling you a little bit more about one particular event that we're involved in with British Divers Marine Life Rescue this year. For anyone that doesn't know who we are, we're a nationwide charity with around 3,500 volunteers who are referred to as marine mammal medics. Many people on the call tonight already are, including some of our speakers. But we operate a national hotline for marine mammals in distress around the UK coastline. We get over 4,000 calls per year. This year, I think we have already passed the number of calls that we had in 2024, which was a record year in itself. So December's our busiest month of the year usually, so it's going to be shocking / interesting to see what figure we come out with for this year with that. So we have a huge network of volunteers who do an amazing job on the front line, as are some of the others here with the rescue monitoring and also the rehabilitation and release work as well. So this year it was our absolute privilege to host the Seal Rescue Conference. We co-hosted it along with Sue and the Seal Research Trust and the Cornish Seal Sanctuary, Tamara Cooper and the team down there as well. The Seal Rescue Conference has been running since 2018. It was first held in Northern Ireland, and each year a different organisation hosts it. So it includes organisations from around mostly Northern Europe. So we've been to the Netherlands a few times. Last year it was in Germany at the Seal Centre in Noordijk, which was a beautiful place to go and visit. And the aim of the conference, and it has an associated WhatsApp group as well, is for the Seal Rescue and Rehabilitation networks to come together and have the WhatsApp group as a place to share information, ask questions about difficult cases, as others might have seen it, and it's something that's new to us. For instance, share new techniques that we're developing in rehab and rescue, and also to help track down tagged seals when they're seen between different regions and different centres. So the WhatsApp group is fantastic for that kind of thing. And then once a year we convene, as I say, at the conference, where we can have a good couple of days sharing some of our news, some of our new techniques, some really interesting research, protocols and so on as well. So we were hosted... we were based at the Oceanside Hotel in Newquay with this beautiful room here that you can see, which we set up with displays from BDMR and the Seal Research Trust. If you click on one again, Sue, we've got some more photos of the setup there. You can see some of the displays there. We had Septimus the Skeleton, who's a famous story all to himself, and you can find more about him on the YouTube channel for the Seal Research Trust. We had some of the interactive games that are used at public events as well, which were really popular amongst our colleagues as well. And we also had some of our research posters that have been presented at previous conferences hung up around the room as well, so we could continue sharing some of our efforts in the science sort of aspect of what we do as well. If you click on one again, Sue, we've just got one more picture to pop up on here. We, of course, also shared the information and the QR code to the Flying Wings campaign that you've heard so much about this evening. So hopefully we've reached that out to a number of other networks, and hopefully they can keep pushing it along with everybody else who has already been doing that work through the Seal Alliance over the past year or so. Next slide, please, Sue. So the conference, I say it's 2 days, it's actually spread out over 3 days. On day one, we started in the afternoon. We had a welcome and delegate introductions, and then we had the first of our speakers, including Newquay Marine Group, who are the local community group doing great marine conservation work in that area. So they were talking all about the beach cleans, the educational events that they do, the outreach to schools and the college in the area as well. Sue here, of course, gave a presentation too, this time talking about the local seal haul-out site and the management issues and solutions that are used there. And then Grace Jones from the Cornish Seal Sanctuary presented on the Cornwall Marine and Coastal Code Group, which is a local coalition of organisations, including statutory bodies, Devon and Cornwall Police, Cornwall Council and others, where we record and respond to incidents of disturbance. We also showed some films throughout the event as well. Some of them were here on the first day as well. So we shared a film that had been made specifically about the issue of feeding seals in harbours, which is quite negative for the seals, but has been a difficult one to combat. We also showed a film on a seal called Wings, who was entangled in a flying ring the previous year. And we were successfully able to capture and remove using quite a unique technique. We also had the Keep Us These Chemical Free film, which you heard about earlier on and is now freely available online if you seek that out too, and the Septimus film. And if you click on one again, Sue, we've got a photo to pop up. We had the first of our 3 guided tours during the event. which was the visit to the BDMLR Cornwall Seal Hospital. So we got to show them around our facility, share our designs. It's a purpose-built facility that was built during 2021, incorporating some of the ideas that have been shared from other organisations, some that we'd come up with ourselves, to give ourselves a really great setting to look after seal pups during the intensive care phase of rehabilitation immediately after rescue. Next slide again, please, Sue. On the second day, we had a full programme throughout the day. We had a lot more talks during this one as well, and also a couple of discussion sessions too. But we had some more of our international colleagues presenting during this one, such as the Seehundenszentrum over at Byrne, who are just moving, or have just moved, sorry, to a new site called WEC, or WEC. So that's really exciting to see that they're expanding and growing and building new facilities over there. We also looked at building databases and the opportunities that they present for research. We had a discussion on seal season trends, as you might have heard earlier in some of our speakers talking about some of the issues that we face. And one of those is the changing seal seasons, and with climate change, some of our pupping season timings are actually getting earlier. So it was really interesting to hear more about what other people around parts of Europe are seeing on their patches as well. We then got more into the actual rehabilitation side of things and sort of clinical discussions as well during the rest of the day. So we were looking at feeding techniques from Scotland at the SSPCA. Some of the researchers that we work with who are hopefully, one of them hopefully is designing a sort of a lab on a chip where we can test for multiple different types of infections on one device, which is really creative and quite amazing. So they're aiming it at lungworm to start with, but hopefully we can incorporate other tests on the same device, which would be amazing. Looking at some interesting cases of emphysema in common seals, and also looking at seal stranding data from Germany. And then in the afternoon, after a lovely lunch provided by the Oceanside Hotel, we also then looked at the role of disease in South East England's harbour seal and the decline in the population over there. The rehabilitation of the effect of rehabilitation on the gut microbiome of stranded harbour seals as well. That was from Byrne again. And then we had a couple of really interesting research presentations, one which is Celtic Sea Power, who are doing the work that Sue mentioned about earlier on, getting the underwater vocalization recordings and what they're planning to do with that project. And we also had Alex Elder from the University of Manchester, who's doing some really amazing research on, well, two subjects actually. One is seal whiskers, and another one is actually entanglement based and looking at the different materials and even the colours, because it may be that there is some evidence that the colour of net might influence whether animals get entangled, or at least the rate of entanglement, with bright unnatural colours being materials lots less likely to result in entanglement. So that was really interesting to hear. If we click on one more, Sue, we've got another picture to come up here, which was our evening adventure down to the Cornish Seal Sanctuary. It was about an hour's drive away from our venue, so we all car shared down there, and we had a wonderful guided tour around the site, looked down at the beaver project in the woodland, and a look, of course, around the seal facilities as well. And then on our final day, next slide again, please, Sue, we had a morning filled with more presentations and one more discussion session. So this time we had a film called Seals in the Sea, which is not yet publicly available, but hopefully will be in the next few months. A really amazing film looking at the relationship between fisheries and seals. Hopefully when that's released, we'll be able to share that with you, and you'll see what that's all about. But it was incredibly well received, nonetheless to say. And then we also had talks then on the National Seal Release Protocol, which again was mentioned earlier on during this session this evening, which was put together between ourselves, the Seal Alliance groups, Biarza, the Cornish Seal Sanctuary, and others as well. So it was great to get that out there to the key audience who are going to be using that sort of thing. And although it's UK aimed, the protocol, hopefully others in the collaborating countries will take that on board and perhaps adapt it for their use as well. We looked also at the satellite tagging of grey seals from the Cornish Seal Sanctuary last winter, which was really interesting to see their movements and where they go. Some of them stayed close by for a while. Some of them went huge distances almost immediately. Some went to the southeast coast of England and France. One went immediately to the south coast of Ireland. Some really big movements in very short amounts of time, which was fascinating to see. And then Sue again presented on the post-release monitoring success and outcomes from the tagged seals, the flipper tags that are seen during the routine surveys carried out by the Seal Research Trust as well, where they get amazing volumes of sightings of them. And it's just so great to see so many of the seals that pass through rescue and rehabilitation and release, surviving months and years down the line and are still getting seen on a regular basis. Some of them even giving birth to pups of their own, which is just the best outcome you could ever hope for from doing this kind of work. The final session of the conference was to look at the deceased side of things, because that is a part of what we do as well. So the Cornwall Wildlife Trust Marine Strandings Network gave an overview of their project and findings, followed by James Bennett from Cornwall Marine Pathology Group, Cornwall Marine Pathology team on some of the really interesting cases and summarised cases from the past 10 years or so. And then we had the Animal and Plant Health Agency, the government agency, who also carry out post-mortem examinations on some seals, giving an overview of some of their findings from the past year as well. We followed that up then with a series of presentations from attendees who had any really unusual or weird or different cases, because we do sometimes see some really strange conditions or even just behaviours in some of the seals that come into us. So it's fascinating to hear about some of those, because it's, again, really a great part of being able to share those kinds of cases. If ever you come across one yourself, you might think, yeah, someone talked about that at a conference, and maybe we need to get in touch with them and see what they did, and see if we can either do the same thing if it worked, or if it didn't, we can try something different ourselves and see if we have any more success with that as well. So really great information sharing all the way throughout, a good amount of socializing, I would say, as well. And if we click onto our last photo, we topped off the conference with a lovely guided walk, thanks to Sue, down to a local seal hall outside and out on the coast and the beach, just to give people a flavour of the wonderful Cornish coastline that we have down here as well. And then if we move on to our next slide again, Sue, we were then able to present the my co-organisers, Sue, Natalie, Tamara and Grace, for all their assistance with organising the conference, and also welcome the hosts of the conference for 2026, which will be at the lovely new facilities of the Zeehonden Centrum at Byrne over at their new site at the WEC. So that's where we'll be heading in 2026, which we're all really excited about. But to round up our conference here, we had 81 attendees, most of whom were in person. 26 different organisations were represented from 7 different countries, including the UK, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Finland, and randomly Greece as well. So it was great to be able to reach out to their colleagues in the Mediterranean dealing with the Mediterranean monk seals. It was their first time being involved in the conference as well. If we move on one more slide, please, Sue. There's huge amounts of organisations that we work with. Not all of them are on this slide. We can't fit them all in, but there's so many people and organisations that we work alongside. And many of them, of course, are involved in this conference here. And there are many, many more here, UK-based and otherwise internationally, who we work with as well, doing the rescue, the rehab, the release, but also the research and the policy and everything else and the protocols too that we work with. So a huge thank you to everybody in the background who's involved in there. And then last slide, final slide, A thank you from me for all of you for attending tonight and hanging on for the last talk as well. We hope you have really enjoyed this evening. Thank you for listening, and back to you, Sue.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dan. I have to say, what an amazing, and the comments reflect this as well, a load of inspiring speakers, and more importantly, for all the incredible ambassadorial work that they all do. We do have a little bit of time for questions, so it is over to you. While you're thinking about them and putting them in the chat for us, please. I know there are some already there. I just wanted to do a bit of a sum up. So basically, we've got, I saw quite a few Seal Alliance signs actually in the presentations, which was great. Some of you are doing fantastic data collection. Lots of us are doing ambassadors on sites. It's really great to hear the ocean literacy work that's being done with the next generation to really make a difference for seals. The Flying Rings campaign is fantastic. The link to the petition is in the chat. Please do sign it and share it if you haven't already. And even if you have already, please share it again. I'm fascinated with the solid exchange scheme that's been happening in Wales and Norfolk for that. So like an amnesty scheme where you take the flying ring away and you give them the solid disc instead, which is great. Working with a different group of stakeholders around the UK, from universities, statutory agencies, landowners, policy and decision makers. 350 wardens in one place, but I think, I'm sorry, British Divers Marine Life Rescue seem to have the largest number of volunteers, but I guess that's not surprising. But that's incredible. Nevertheless, 350 wardens is incredible. Interesting about the infrastructure responsibility. I love the idea of flip up facts on site. I think that's great. Consistency with messaging. It is really great that we're all on the same page, having consistent messaging about what best practice looks like in particular. But it is interesting, the huge range of different user groups who impact seals, particularly in terms of disturbance, which is worrying. And then all those other issues that they face in terms of entanglement in fishing gear and angling gear, industrial rings and other stuff. Who knew about umbrellas? Who knew about that? Fascinating that we're starting to use more technology, particularly for solar powered cameras and the CGen buoy and the audio visual kit that Celtic Sea Power are doing, and some really fantastic artwork and creativity with youngsters, young and old. It's really fantastic. So huge thanks to all of you. It's been totally inspirational. Right, the first question, Sally Butler, goes to you, which is oh, and now I've lost the question. Oh, why did I do that? It was from Zoe, and it was, can anyone spot it before? Sally, what are your most common entanglements caused by? Ghost nest, fishing tackle, flying rings. Just wondering how it differs on your coast.
It is predominantly, it is ghost net, but we do get a variety of different plastic rings, gaskets from we think the wind farms, and even every year we get one that has a bag for life around its neck.
Always one, hey? Bag for life or death, we should say. Yes, responsibly dispose of bags for life. Thank you for that, Sally. Lindsay, I just wanted to say thank you very much for promoting the Flying Rings campaign in Stornoway, and the local toy shop has taken them off the shelves, which is really great. And you can, and they've now got one of our posters displayed saying they don't sell flying rings. Gareth's sticking his thumbs up for that because that's really great. There are links in the chat to the Seal Spy volunteering and to the Mum and Pup Masterclass and the Flying Rings petition, which is great. Lily says we've had meetings with our local wildlife officer, Police Scotland. They have flagged up seabirds to connect our officer with one, Operation Seabird presumably, to connect our officer with the one in England, which is great partnership working. That's really good news. Gareth, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I did read it actually from Lily. It's I've also written a guide to sometimes, and it's really it's quite worrying to hear some of the local police don't want to sort of get too involved, or they may not know much about it. But on the in the resources and the Seal Alliance, I've written a guide of how to achieve success by getting the local police force to be supportive of your aim of joining Operation Seabird and what you should be doing. And I know that one of our members has actually used that, and it has actually worked really well there. But I can see that Lydia, the officer is very much on board, which is fantastic. But unfortunately, that's not right across the UK, Lydia. So I've just written a bit of a guide there of how to secure that support, because it is a national campaign.
Could you possibly try and just dig out the link and stick it into the chat? Or,
yes, I will.
Or provide your email address so that other people can get in touch about that, because obviously it's going to be really important. I was just going to say that all the Flying Ring resources are on the sealalliance.org website, and the link to that is in the chat. You can just copy and paste them out. Tony's written something really lovely, which about it being a fascinating meeting, great to hear what other groups are doing, gives so much inspiration. We clearly have very similar challenges, but also quite a few different ones. The synopsis is we are all here for the same reason, giving up hours and hours of volunteer time. Whilst we are here as part of the Seal Alliance, it's obvious that we are also here for all wildlife around our coast. Keep up the fantastic work, everyone. That's made me tingle, Tony. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's a very powerful statement. And then we've got the conference sounds interesting. Hope to be able to go next year. I'm on transport duty, so I've got to pop off now. That's completely fine. Are there any other questions? Thank you for the fantastic talks. That's lovely. It's been great to find out what kinds of volunteering roles might be available. Yeah, we will be looking into this. Sophie, that's great. Great meeting, wonderful stories. The Seal Research Trust do also have free online volunteer training that you can attend. And it's not to commit you to volunteering, but it's so that you can find out about the different types of volunteering that are available locally or remotely. And then you decide if that's something that you would want to do. So I'm just going to put an email in the chat, which is seals@sealresearchtrust.com. And the thing about this training is it isn't just for people who volunteer with us. So if people want to set up their own organisation, or they want to volunteer with other groups that are on the call tonight, then this is a good way to start accessing that. So that will hopefully be useful to you. Thanks, Sean. Lovely comments, very much appreciated. And anything else about any other questions? Would anyone be brave and like to unmute and ask a question? It doesn't matter if you don't, because I think we're almost out of time. But if anyone does want to, go for it. Got 10 seconds to unmute. Countdown started. Okay, it looks like not. But can I just say from the bottom of my heart, huge thanks to you for turning up to listen, and to all of our utterly amazing speakers. Can we please give them a round of applause? You'll notice that the seal pup behind me is also giving them a round of applause, which is lovely. And we will put this recording onto the YouTube channel. So please, we ask you to share it widely. So if you've enjoyed it, then please do look up the YouTube channel. We know you've seen it, you don't need it, but you could share it, and you could get other people to find out more about the Seal Alliance and what we do, and how other people can get involved and help with the work that we do, even if it's just signing a petition and sharing it. So thanks very much. I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm